All right, hi everybody. Welcome to SIG Windows meetup. Thank you all for attending. We don't have a lot of items on the agenda today, so there's a few general updates. I'll go ahead and make them, and then if anybody has any topics, they can bring them in. So let me start from the docs that Craig had posted. Craig, you want to talk a little bit about that really quickly? The outline.
Sure, absolutely. So I shared in Slack and now with the email list an outline for the upstream documentation for the Windows containers intended to land in the docs during 1.14, assuming we're going to go GA at that point. The conversation that I had with the SIG docs team about a week and a half ago was around the fact that adding a new node type impacts a lot of different things within Kubernetes, and we were discussing the trade-offs of how to figure out the best and most effective and efficient way to create the right docs. And the ask from the SIG docs team was, instead of to try to make PRs to a bunch of different pages on the website right away, to consolidate all of the content into a kind of a coherent document, which we can then make a decision about whether or not it makes more sense to have those kind of distributed changes to all of the different pieces, or to have a more central Windows container guide for Kubernetes, and then have small changes to the relevant pages where there need to be specific callouts. And so I was asked to put together this kind of outline. So what I did is I created the outline by consolidating input from prior outlines and content pull requests for prior release attempts of this, and the information from the KEP. And I've consolidated that into the outline, and I would ask for anyone who has the time and energy to take a review of that outline, so that in the next week we can kind of finalize the outline and start working on the content itself. One idea is to first thing is to figure out whether it makes sense to fill the content out in the Google Doc, or I don't know much about what it takes to reformat Google Docs into Markdown, but I'm going to talk to the SIG docs folks later about it today. But the near-term ask is to add your input to the outline level content, and if there are any specific things you think need to be called out, put them into that doc. Anything else you want to add to that, Michael?
No, I think that the outline is really good. It encompasses a wide variety of areas, from user guides to installation to what's working, what's not working. It has a contributor experience section. So I think that we're gonna look into some members of the SIG to come in and fill in some details around, especially CNI. So I definitely want to see Aline and Ben to talk about, and David as well, obviously. So Ben and David can talk about Flannel, Aline about the OV and OVS, so we can fill in some of the sections around networking. But overall, this is a good outline that would give enough information to end users that are coming in about what's working, what's not, what kind of types of apps they can bring into Windows, and also a section around experimental features or features that are coming down the line, like GMSA, Containerd, Calico, and other things that are in our near and long-term roadmap. So thanks, Craig, for basically putting everything together from all these various sources, including your own input. And once we know how we should start filling in the content, whether that's Markdown or Google Docs, let us know, Craig, and at least me personally, I'm going to pick up a few sections. And the one thing I proposed on that was we can have people that are willing to contribute to pick 2 or 3 sections each, or subsections, and give them a deadline, right? So they fill those in. We can go through a round of review, make sure that we're all writing within the same type of content and detail level, and then adjust if necessary, and then to the next 2 or 3 sections, and we can complete the docs that way. From a timeline perspective, you know, even though the docs deadline is far away, it really is not. When we look at the Kubernetes 1.14 release timeline, we will have code freeze on March 7th, which is exactly 3 weeks from now, pretty much. And then the docs need to be completed 11 days later on March 18th. So my goal is, if we can get the docs in a good enough state by the end of February, it'll give us enough time to do reviews and iterations and all of that stuff. So definitely, even though we have a month, really time flies.
Yes, it does. And I just wanted to note that I've lined up some docs resources to help us with sort of editorial and formatting work as well.
And I put the link to the docs that Craig created on the in the meeting notes. All right. Next, by the way, Patrick is not joining us since, you know, as you guys know, Seattle has been snowed in. The only thing you can see is the Space Needle. So if you guys haven't seen that picture, that's hilarious, by the way, that has that. So he won't be able to join us. All right, Deep, you want to give us a quick update on GMSA? I know that your PR to create the new report is not complete yet, but you're getting there.
Yes. So work is going on well. The PR request is in. I'll just basically ping Aaron again today to get it through. And then other than that, the entry PR is still waiting for review. So please take a look if you get a chance. I pinged Yuju as well. I think she was out last week, so she just got back and acknowledged saying it's in her radar, and she'll take a look.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was also out last week traveling, not out of work, so I'm basically in a pile of. I'll get to this as well. My apologies.
No worries, no worries. So yeah, that's we're kind of in a holding pattern, and Jean is making progress on the webhooks that we described in the CAP. So basically, the webhooks are being developed in a private repo, and as soon as the Cube repo is up, we'll ship it.
Excellent, thank you. I pinged Aaron on your repo last night as well, so just give him a few hours, and if he doesn't reply, we'll ping him again.
Awesome. And Jeremy has been helping us quite a bit with test setups and debugging various DNS issues. So we're doing manual tests, but Alpha does not have the automated test in the goals.
So Deep and Jeremy, the section on GMSA under experimental support in the docs that we talked about earlier, we're going to rely on you guys to fill that in. That will include, think of these around like 2-3 things, right? Setup, how to use, and what's the net effect to the user, right? You know, what are they getting out of it? So figure out, you know, how you're going to section that, and, you know, that also abide by the same deadlines that we talked about earlier.
Yep, we'll take a crack at it.
And we might, from your perspective, you might have to update a couple of sections. You might have to update the Windows section, but probably also the section where they have some of the security stuff on the for Linux containers, like run as username, for example. You should have a link there as well, even if the link says go to these Windows docs, because when people are looking about what kind of identity can I put in my container, we need to make sure that they're aware that on Windows there's some special things.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we'll definitely have to audit the docs a little bit to see.
All right, cool. Trying to see, Claudio, you're and Adelina. Who wants to give us a quick update on the testing effort and where we are? I know there's a furious rally of lots of PRs that we got to review the last few days, fixing little things here and there.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me fine?
Adelina, you're sounding a little bit muffled. I don't know if that's just me or everybody.
I'm guessing my microphone goes through the laptop, not through the headphones.
It's better now.
Okay. I'm basically shouting. So basically, what happened was updating AKS engine. The AKS
You are really muffled, Adelina. We can barely make out what you're saying.
Better now?
Yes,
Oh,
much better.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically what happened, updating AKS engine, the AKS engine version, also updated the CNI, the Azure CNI version. It seems that it wasn't necessarily that stable, Azure CNI version 1017. That caused some tests to fail, some pods to fail to spawn. So when a pod fails to spawn, the framework waits 5 minutes. It's a hard deadline. It waits 5 minutes. So if a bunch of these pods fail to spawn, we just add 5 minutes in test time, and we basically hit the upward timeout that Prow gives us, and that's already 7 hours. What we did basically is we went back to Azure CNI version 116. That seems to be better. That was the one we were using until now. Also, we removed a couple of tests that are flaky 80-90% of the time. I'm looking for the link. Until we figure out what we can do with those tests, there's no point in running them because they just take up time. We also increased timeouts. We're looking around some other tweaks, either the AKS engine. I also added a patch to randomize the Azure zones, Azure locations where these clusters are spawned. So basically everything possible to reduce the probability of it either being a slow deployment or having a lot of timeouts. We also consider, I talked with Patrick on a mail thread. We're also considering for the Windows tests that should be added, the new Windows tests, that we create a separate stage job and use that one to say add new tests until they're stable and then move them to the main job, the one we see on test grid, because with only that one job, any tweak we do might cause failures or whatever. So we want to keep that one as stable as possible and just have a staging one where we test things for stability, especially since we're going to add some new Windows tests. Yeah, that's mostly on the upstream side. There are a couple of issues we're tracking related to DNS. But other than that, the stability is our main concern right now.
Got it. So I have a few follow-up questions, if you don't mind, Adelina and Claudia.
Yeah.
So the first one is this flaky tests that you said that were flaky 80 or 90% of the time. Are they flaky only on Windows or are they flaky on Linux as well?
On Windows. They're on Windows. Just a second so I can retrieve that. There is an issue opened. 1 second. It's if you look in test grid, it's the max container backoff tests. These ones. It's issue 71949.
Okay. Yeah, we should take a look at that and make sure that if we basically need to understand if they're not flaky on Linux, why are they flaky on Windows, right? So we need to understand what the test does. if it's a timeout or something else. I don't want to read through the ticket now, but I'll do that later. So our biggest concern is, are they uncovering an issue that we haven't thought about before, or it's potentially dangerous to us? So that'd be a good thing to investigate. My second question is where are we on picking the image for Windows? I know we talked about the Docker Hello World example. We talked about the Golang example, and basically one of the things that we talked with Lubomir, both on the ticket as well as in a couple of various forums, was that we need to have this distinction between when the test runs on Linux, it needs to pick a Linux container, the smallest 40 megabyte image that they want, and when it's on Windows, it's the 123 megabyte Golang or Hello World image. What are we on finalizing that? The PR was still open last night.
Yeah, regarding that test, apparently what Lubomir and I agreed with is creating a separate test with an image that we build ourselves. Right now, the latest version of that pull request basically has a new test, which is pulling a BusyBox image which has a manifest list, which I've built, and it has the images for 1803 and Windows Server 2019.
So we're gonna build our own image. Is it gonna be smaller than the Docker Hello World?
It's a BusyBox image, which is basically used in at least half of the end-to-end tests. So basically, that image should already exist on the nodes, and at the very least, that image is based on the Windows Server Core image, which already exists on the nodes. Okay,
all right. So let's get that out there and close it up. Thank you, Claudio.
No problem.
Another thing regarding the manifest list. So on Windows testing, there is this PR that Claudio made about Windows manifest lists. So basically, all the images now under his private repo are manifest lists. We didn't change the one under the E2E team official repo, if you want, to manifest list. If there is somebody from Google or who's testing on GCE, the jobs for the GCE, we might need confirmation that these manifest lists work for the jobs as well before we move everything to E2E. So for our job on Azure, they work just fine. It will pick the proper image for the OS version, but I don't know very much about what the other Windows testing effort for GC is using, what version of Docker, what version of Windows. So if you can confirm it works, we can move to the official repo with everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
we can change our test to use the new images and see if it works. We'll get back to you.
Please, thank you. I also pinged. I think I pinged you on that issue, on that pull request. So if you can comment there, that'll be great.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Adelina, Yuji is also asking on the flaky test, so something similar to what I asked earlier, right? So we need to understand what those tests are. Just removing them is not an option unless we know for sure they're not applicable to Windows, right? So we might need to at least open a ticket to track that, so we don't forget that those tests were removed.
We have it, so that issue is in reference to those tests.
The PR is closed though, so that once the PR is closed, nobody will remember to come back to it.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need something. We need something to track that to remove these tests, and we either need to bring them back in, modify them, or something else. So if you can create that, that'd be great.
Oh, I figure why it was closed. It was closed because I think because it was referenced in an issue, so it shouldn't be closed. I'll reopen it.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, I see the SIG Windows automation. So the SIG Windows project moved it to done, and I guess that's, I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, I should reopen it.
Okay, cool.
We do have tracking on this, and we're looking into it, so it's on our radar.
All right, excellent. So, and I also finishing up that work with the picking up our image will allow us to make a lot of progress. So, you know, this is more of a qualitative question more than a quantitative, but how far are we from getting 100% green conformance? Like, you know, what are we today?
Well, if you look at test grid, so with the exception of these problems that we had with the spawning clusters, the only tests that are failing consistently are a test that we have a PR to remove. So it's a kubelet when scheduling a busybox pod with host alias should write entries to etc host that cannot ever run on Linux. We have a PR to add it to Linux only out. This one cannot ever run on Windows because we cannot mount files, but in the previous PR that added that tag for Linux only, it was omitted, so we had the new PR to fix this. The DNS should provide DNS for the cluster, and the daemon set tests are the only ones which are consistently failing at this point. The daemon set one is flaky. Looking for the previous runs, I would say 50% of the time it fails. So, but that is a timeout issue. I think so. Looking through the times it took for the test to run, it just doesn't manage to finish in time. I think I do need to investigate a little more, but. Other than that, tests seem to be they're green. The most important thing we have to do this week is stabilize these runs, because for the past week, clusters had problems spawning and so on and so forth.
And then I noticed that Claudio has his own repo with server 2019 versus the Google repo that has 1803. When are we going to be able to merge and use 1809 in the through the Google repos?
I'm working on that presently, and by the end of this week, I expect we'll be able to switch to 2019.
But I think that issue about adding image manifest lists to the Windows testing will solve this too, where it should be one thing that could be 1803 or 2019. Exactly,
it could be used for both. We just need confirmation that it works on Google's testing.
Excellent, thank you.
Because the last time we switched we switched repos without asking anyone, we broke Google. So Google's testing.
All right. The last item from me, we had our first engineering stand-up last week. We have another one this week, and we're going to continue those until the end of March or until 1.14 releases. The biggest part of that is that we had a backlog that was huge, 20 items or so. Now it's down to 7, and most of them are in progress. So thank you all for not only folks in this team meeting, but a lot of folks that don't attend this meeting that have picked up items and they are starting to contribute. So a lot of items in progress. So including a lot in review. So there's 20 items both in progress and review together, split 50-50. And we'll continue that progress, and I think we'll be in good shape for 1.14. Ben, you want to talk about the PR you added on the docs?
Yes, this is adding test results for. At Pivotal, we have this product CFCR that's a way of deploying Kubernetes, and we're running the conformance tests, and we're trying to add it to the test grid. And so we can be another point of agreement, or hopefully, on running all the conformance tests in another environment.
Yeah,
we're already seeing some like difference. Yeah, I think we have more failures. Some of it's definitely related to known issues that we're trying to work around, and some, I don't know, we'll have to follow up and see why we're getting different behavior.
Do you have perchance a doc or something, some results you can share? Maybe there are known issues we know or know how to work around.
Yeah, I can show you like one of the latest logs of a run.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, I think that's all the items we had in our agenda for today. Anybody has any concerns or anything else they want to bring up? We have a couple of minutes left. All right, have a great day, everybody. Stay warm if you're in an area that's super cold. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on Thursday, some of you, and the rest of you next Tuesday. Bye.
See ya.
Wow.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.